Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Okay, once again, I'm gonna preface this by saying, I don't know jack all about Harry Potter. Despite being in the target demographic back in the day, and despite being forced into a two-person book club with my mom, forcing me to read the books, she was a fast reader and I didn't really care, so the extent of me reading these books was half a sentence, skip ahead 40 pages, read another half a sentence, rinse and repeat. But if nothing else, the little book club Harry Potter forced me into got me really good at bluffing. So that's something. Now the plot starts out with Harry Potter being stuck in his bedroom, locked in there, forced to be there all summer until he goes back to school. When suddenly Gollum appears and tells him he's not allowed to go back to school. Harry protests, to which Gollum starts smashing his head against the wall. And hey, I'm right there with ya. I have to talk about Harry Potter. But then Harry's classmates appear in a flying car, tell him to grab his things, and they go. Well, except that they tell him he can only bring half of his cards in his magical card binder, thus contriving why he has so few cards compared to the end of the first game. And while I know this is a gameplay balance thing, you're basically telling him to hurry up, get his stuff so you can go, but at the same time you're asking him to go through his card book and meticulously chop out half the pages before you can leave. Also, I'm pretty sure the card you spent an entire chapter trying to collect in the previous game isn't in either of these sets, so the story isn't even consistent with itself. Bravo, Harry Potter. Bravo. But then some things happen, and eventually you're off to another year of magical shenanigans-ness, or something. Basically, this game is more of the same. If you like more of the same, you'll enjoy this game. This game is a top-down turn-based RPG, much like the first game. In fact, much like the first game is a good way to surmise this game entirely. Except it seems that the developers tried to make a concerted effort to try and fix most of the original game's issues. For example, while items in combat still aren't described to you ahead of time, attacks have a nice little graphic behind them that tells you what they're supposed to do, which is useful when trying to counteract enemy color types to figure out what spell they're weak to, which is useful when trying to figure out what enemy colors are weak to what spells. You can just sort of look at the spell and say, oh, this is the opposite color, let's use this. That works out great. Likewise, this game is a lot more clear as to what your objectives are and where they are in relativity to where you start. Granted, it's still ambiguous in a lot of ways, but at least they give you some general direction with the start, and if nothing else, that's appreciated. In addition to that, they've tried to make the school a hell of a lot less confusing, although that's to mixed results. First and foremost, they removed all of the hidden secret passages on each floor, which is appreciated, and while 80% of all 8 of the exits on every floor are empty rooms, at least they give you a map to tell you which rooms are empty on each floor. Yes, it's a very clumsy and not necessarily great response to the issue, but at least they tried to do something to fix the problem. In addition to that, while the enemy difficulty does spike in places, specifically the first boss really caught me off guard, but comparatively to the first game, it is a smooth difficulty curve. There's still some jumps, but for the most part, it's not half as bad as the first game, where basic enemies could kill you from room to room just in a massive jump of stats. And while stats and leveling up still seems kind of sort of random, they at least fill out a little bit better than they did in the first game. I mean, seriously, the first game, most of my stat level ups were you gained 0 points in every stat. This time they try to at least give you 1 in each stat, which is appreciated and a lot less awful. There's lots of other little improvements to the game as well, such as a slightly more streamlined level design, and the game just being relatively smoothly paced. Like the first game, there are mini-games, but this game likes to balance out the mini-games in between the actual main gameplay sections a little bit smoother. Now, despite this game being basically better than the first one in every single conceivable way, it's not without its flaws. It's still buggy, it feels like it reuses a lot of sprites, and there are still some difficulty spikes here and there. But overall, gameplay-wise, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is just an overall better game than Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Presentation-wise, like gameplay, it is a big improvement. While, as I've said, they have reused some sprites here and there, they did touch up some of the pre-existing ones, and stuff like portraits are, for the most part, completely new, and for the most part, better. Except for this one of Harry, because, well, isn't this a thing of beauty? Every time I see this headshot of him, I have to laugh, because it's pretty awesome. But beyond that, the sprites are very similar to the first game when they aren't being reused from the first game, or better marginally. Audio-wise, this game is better by leaps and bounds. It does like to use the main theme from the first game, remixed into other songs, once again. However, like in the first game, it was done much better than the main theme itself was. Beyond that, the themes are just solid. I mean, it's got a kick-ass battle theme. In fact, it's got a couple kick-ass battle themes because they decided to spring for more than one or two, which is massively appreciated. The only thing I don't like about this game audibly is it uses the same teeth-grindingly bad squeaky door opening sound effect, which drives me up the wall because it is annoying and loud. But overall, presentation-wise, it's very similar to the first game, but improved in pretty much every way. Now, if you want a copy of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, well, you shouldn't have to look that far. Like the first game, it's pretty easy to come by, it's inexpensive, and once again, it was a popular IP, so you shouldn't have any trouble tracking down a copy. But I do have to thank YouTube user NicoDemR for sending this to the show, along with the predecessor, and I have to say, I actually kind of like this game. I mean, it's still Harry Potter, and I still can't stand Harry Potter, but at least this game made a concerted effort to be better than the previous game. It's one of the few times I've ever seen a developer make a completely awful game and then make a direct sequel to it which actually addressed all the issues of the first game. Granted, some of their solutions were better than others, but at the very least, they tried to make a better product, and it shows, because this game is actually kinda good.